Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the episode of Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my true partner, Anthony. This is a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, how you doing?
Wow, it seems like it's been so much has been happening that my sense of time has been mushed up. As you know, I've been traveling a lot recently, and after I travel, I come back and then teach judo, and then went to a judo tournament and work the next day. And yeah, it's just a lot of stuff happening. So then we have to record a podcast too.
For those of you out there, yeah, Anthony does not have a good with a sense of time and space. What is it?
Yep. Sense of time. I need to apologize to Ajax because this episode we're actually supposed to be interviewing Ajax, and something happened to help my parents out with something. And long story short, I missed the interview and I feel so bad about it. But I thought I'd be back in time, but the problem lasted longer and I had to take care of it longer than I expected. But that's probably the next episode is going to be our interview with Ajax Tadahara. So this is us the day after recording an episode of something else that we're going to talk about. And following episode will be interview with Ajax. But yeah, I just need a.
It was all Anthony's fault.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
I was already upset. It was all Anthony's fault. I apologize on behalf of Anthony as well.
Yep. Yeah, I better not visit Ajax or he's going to choke the crap out of me. But yeah, everything's just been kind of crazy. There's a lot of judo stuff happening, and combine that with all the summer traveling that's happening. And I mean, next week, I think I told you next week I'm flying again for a wedding. And then, yeah, I just need to plan out my time a lot better. I need to stop accepting things that I'm packing my schedules too tight. Let's just say that. Like it's really like I'm jumping from one thing to another, like from work to judo to podcast stuff to back to work to helping my parents out with stuff. And yeah, but that's what happens when I guess your parents get older. For those of you who have elderly parents, probably know what I'm talking about.
Don't blame it on your parents. Don't blame it on your parents. You're Mr. Party all the time, Mr. Vacation all the time. Vacation all the time. Every other 2 weeks. Oh, sorry, I'm going out of state. Oh, I'm going on another vacation. Oh, I'm going on another vacation. Hey, Juan, I'm not going to make it this weekend. I have another vacation.
I was working that time too while I was there, just so you know. So,
well, on a boat, drinking on a boat.
No, it's mostly in the morning. That was working. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Anthony right there having some fun. So, we talked about a little bit of competition right there. So, what happened with us was not this past weekend, the last weekend, I believe it was, or maybe 3 weeks by the time this podcast comes out. Here in California, we had the California State Games. It's a pretty big tournament. It's in San Diego, and we had a lot of our members go there. We had about 11 or 12 people go. We came back with 9 medals, I believe. 5. Yeah. So it was 5 gold, 2 silver, 2 bronze. We did really, really well with a lot of our beginners.
Yeah, I was really surprised how well they did. Like, I was really surprised. And
this is something that I noticed during the tournament and before the tournament. We had a lot of I'm just going to put it out there. This podcast is mostly about gis for competition, mostly gi things, and maybe a little bit about practice gis also, but the difference between what you wear for a practice and what you wear mostly for a competition. So a lot of our members are asking, so Sensei Juan, Sensei Anthony, and Sensei Eric, and Philippe also, like, what kind of gi should I wear for competition? Should I wear my normal single weave gi? Should I go buy a double weave gi? Do I wear a blue gi? Should I bring a blue gi? Do I need to buy a blue gi? And the way we do it here in the US is that your mandatory white gi on both, if it's mandatory white on the white side. If you want to wear a blue gi on the blue side, that's up to you, but you have to change back and forth. You cannot at all wear a blue gi on the white side, which there's always one guy, or if you get the tournament, that always go there just wearing a blue gi. And they're like, what do you mean I can't wear a blue gi on the white side? And it's like, it says in the rules there, you cannot wear a blue gi on the white side.
Yeah, it's just really funny because, I mean, we already did some short videos briefly about gis. I highly recommend people go check that out if they don't know that we did some short videos on the gis already. And I felt like if you train judo, this shouldn't apply to you if you're not a competitor. Plus, if you're a competitor, your coach or your sensei should know this stuff, basically. And that's why we never felt like we needed to talk about it. But apparently, after this past competition, we do need to talk about it. And I guess it warrants a whole episode about it because
it's a lot of little things.
Kind of confused. It can be kind of confusing. Yeah. And B, it's like, you guys should know this. Like, come on. But, but I've literally been to clubs where there's the coaches would basically spout rules that are out of date, basically to the competitors. And I didn't, since I'm a visitor, I felt like I shouldn't correct them or argue with them about stuff. And things like grip rules, I'm like okay with, but I think gis and leg grabs are two things that I'm like, how are you not up to date with those rules? You know? So yeah.
Well, I can get with like the little rules because there's slight rules changes almost every year. Almost every year we have slight rule changes. Every 4 years after Olympics, we have major changes. And I understand it gets annoying and tedious to check them every year to see what the changes are in the length, the sleeves, the even like we call this little side thing right now. We're going a little side tangent. We save single weave gi and double weave gi. A modern day double weave gi isn't a double weave anymore. A modern day double weave gi is a weave and a half, right?
Yeah. Yes, is weave and a half. And actually, as you know, I told you I've been doing some gi shopping. I'll go more into that later. But I think we should really retire that term single and double weave and basically do what BJJ does. Or I mean, some manufacturers like Kusakura actually already does this, which is they state the GSM, like the grams per square meter, like how thick it is per square meter, basically. That basically denotes how thick a gi is. I think, don't quote me on this, I think the old school double weaves were between 750 and 850. And the current double weaves are between 650 and 750. I'm not quite sure. And then like your typical BJJ gi is like 500, 450, 600, around that range. And then your super lightweights would be like 400, 350. Yeah. So I think we need to retire that term.
To me, like when you hear like a gi that thin, it's like, what am I wearing? Like a sheet over me? Am I wearing like, it's like so thin. That just sounds so like almost wearing like a karate gi for the most part.
It's really funny because actually the brands like Mizuno and Kusakura, they list that number that I told you. That I guess I'm already getting into the shopping because I've just recently did some shopping on it. They list the numbers. You can find them for Kusakura, almost all their gis, except for the two gis that I just, not two gis, the one gi that I bought just now was supposedly the most lightweight, but they never put the number on it. That was the only gi that I found that did not have a number on it. Mizuno, some of them, they put it, like, I think they're normal like 750 GSM ones, they put it, but none of the other ones. And Fuji gis do not put them at all. So when I order online, I have absolutely no idea how thick they are. So maybe we can do another short video series comparing the thickness and stuff.
We're gonna measure gis. and for people, like, I know that we're speaking. And I know I noticed some people are speaking like we're speaking crazy. Like, what are they talking about? These numbers? And we're literally talking about how thick the gi is because like terrible. When there's certain ways when you feel a gi, it's just there's a thickness to it. There's like wearing a carpet almost sometimes with a real double weave gi. It's crazy, and that's what we're talking about. How thick the thread count is for the gi. So that's one of these crazy things that go into competition players. So let me go back to rules and stuff. So if you're on the white side, you must wear white gi. If you're on the blue side, you have the option to wear a blue gi. What we do now, I think this is an international thing. It's definitely a US thing. And I think they did it in Canada also. So say I go there with only my white gi, which is fine. If I'm on the white side, I wear my white gi with a white belt. If I'm on the blue side, I can wear my white gi with a blue belt. No, so a white gi with a white belt on the white side, and the blue side, you're gonna have your white gi with a blue belt, showing the difference in size. Back in the old days, you wear your white gi on both sides, and they'll just give you like a red belt to wear. They don't give you, they would give you like a red sash to wear.
Red sash, and in some cases right now it's red sash and a white sash, so it's fair. You know what I mean? Like some people don't like having something dangling around, but that way both red and white have to wear a sash, and it'll be more fair.
To make it easier for lower tournaments, your local tournaments, your state tournaments and stuff, usually you're allowed to wear white on both sides, just have to wear a different color belt for side you're on. It's up to you if you want to wear blue gi on the blue side, but remember, you are going to be changing in and out. And at a small tournament, you're usually not going to have that much time to be changing in and out of gis. You might, but you're most likely not. Now, if I go to U.S. Nationals, I have to wear a blue gi on the blue side, and I have to wear a white gi on the white side for one of the big major tournaments. And same with international tournaments, you have to wear blue on blue and white on white. But when it comes to your small local tournament, just take your white gi. There's no need to take a blue gi. And if you take a blue gi because you want to be fun or different or be more professional, maybe, remember, you're going to be changing back and forth. Don't be trying to be like, oh, I'll wear my blue gi with my white belt on it and be like, I'm going to go outside. I've seen so many matches, not a handful this past weekend of guys trying to do that, guys and girls trying to do that. And it'd be like, the ref would be like, Mate, stop. Where's your, they do the hand signal with their, like, they do like the gi, like hand signal stuff, and be like, where's your white gi? And be like, oh, I don't have one, or I just fought right now. So like, you got to go change. And they'll put you that minute on the clock or whatever it is, minute half to go change really quick. But yeah, remember that's a little low level thing. Just something for white belts and some brown belts that just want to be cool and wear a blue gi tournament. You can't. I know you want to, but you can't. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah.
White on white, blue side, white on white side, and a blue side, white gi with a blue belt, or you can wear your blue gi. But remember, you got to change. All right.
It's funny because there was a guy that did that. He only had a blue gi this past tournament.
Was there one guy? Okay.
There was the one guy who only had a blue gi, and the ref told him like you need to change that when you're on the white side, and they just let him continue wearing that blue gi. They let it slip by.
They?
So this is like they did let it slip by. So I guess it's a small tournament, and they just want to get it over with and not hold it up, like, because they were going pretty fast. We were done by 3 or 4 p.m. So
once we got to the adults, it went pretty fast. Kids took forever, but once you got to the adults, there was like go.
But it's funny that you mentioned the thing because back in the day, Fuji made a double-sided gi. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's disgusting. Gis, I think it's disgusting.
I swear
I would hate the fight people wear those gis. If I saw someone
extra thick, it's like gluing 2 pieces of gi together. That's how thick it was.
It's that, but you're sweating on the inside. Then you reverse this, and all that sweat's on the inside. Now the sweat on the outside. I'm fighting them. Like, I would hate fighting guys with that gi on.
Yeah, so my old sensei in Austin had it, and I think as a white belt when I was doing randori with him, I knew something was wrong. I'm like, I can't get a hold of this gi. Like, he was also
a double weave.
He's also this like kind of what do you call it? I don't want to say he's short because he's not, but he's stout and wide. Like you think of big one, but lower center of gravity. So
he's Juan has a pretty low center of gravity.
He has the ideal. He has the ideal judo body, basically. So very low center of gravity, really wide, hard to move. So it fills up the gi really tight. So it's like this extra thick triple weave gi, double sided, white on one side, white on one side, and blue on the other. It's like so hard to grip. But they don't sell that gi anymore, I think, because I was thinking of picking one up. But
I think tournaments said, I can't remember, like, I don't know if it's a joke, but I think I heard someone say that like tournaments got rid of it because they thought it was disgusting. Also, I'm just saying that
it's not disgusting. It's not fair. Let's just say it's not fair.
To have a quadruple weave gi. So that's kind of the basis there when it comes to gi stuff. Now, the other question I was getting from my players were, since if one should I buy a double weave gi, or why do competitions people talk about bringing their double weave? Because they heard about the advanced people talk about, oh, I'm bringing my double weave, or I just bought a new double weave for that, or I'm doing this. So the thickness of a double weave gi is how Anthony just talked about right now. It's harder to grab, so it's a little bit of defense. And one thing for you to know if it's a double weave or not, just in visual, a double weave gi is going to have this seam that's coming down the back. And that little seam right there coming down the back makes it really hard to get over the top grips for most people. And for people like me, like to get over the top grip, it makes it a little bit harder in competition to get the over the top grip because it's double thickness. So that's one of the main things. Like talk about like judo armor. Your double weave is your judo armor for competition. You don't have to get a double weave competition, especially if you're a white belt, just beginner. You don't want to spend the money for it. You don't have to. But once you get the brown belt, I think you should be wearing a double weave for all your competitions at that point. Because think of it. If I'm wearing a single weave gi, my opponent's wearing a double weave, and I'm having a hard time to grip him with his extra thick gi, and I'm wearing this thin paper gi here, and he just grabbed me whatever he wants and ragdoll me. Why am I going to give that person the advantage? As a white belt, it's okay because you're just starting out. But once you get to brown belt or higher ranks, you need to start investing to get a good double weave gi. I wear Fujis. I used to wear Adidas, but Adidas don't make the double weave I like anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
So I moved on. So I moved over to Fuji after that. I still have an old school Adidas double weave one. I think it's like sandpaper. I'm never going to get rid. I love that. As long as that gi still.
Is that the one you ripped?
No, I ripped those pants. It's actually funny. Those pants finally ripped. The pants ripped of all things, but the gi top is still there. It's made of steel, I swear.
I was never a fan of the Adidas stripe, so I never actually got an Adidas gi. But yeah, I'm more of a Mizuno and Kusakura kind of guy. So,
and what are your thoughts, Anthony, on double weave the difference between like a single and double for competition?
Well, now I feel like there's much of a difference with the new requirements. Well, that's not saying new requirements. That's confusing because recently there were new requirements. But between the true double weave from back in the day versus the now 1.5 and the single weave, I don't think there's much of a difference. It is a little harder to grab than usual, especially around the back. But the collar itself and the rest of the gi, like the sleeves and stuff, there really isn't much difference. Now, where the difference is it's hot as hell in the summer because I've mostly been training in summer, like hot climates like Texas and California. And yeah, single weave is the way to go. I really think if you buy a double weave, it should just be used
practice people. He's saying that for practice.
Yeah. If you buy a double weave, it should just be used for competition, especially since everyone knows the more you wash a gi, the more, which you should do after every single practice, the more you wash it, the more it's going to shrink. So I don't think anyone should be buying a double weave for training, like in general, unless they like how it feels and go ahead. But I don't think it feels really well because it's hotter. They should just buy for competition. That's my opinion. And if they buy for competition, they should only use it for competition to reduce the shrinkage. Because one of the first mistakes I did as a yellow belt was I bought a double weave gi. I think it was it was a Mizuno, my first Mizuno gi. I bought it at a competition, and I also wore it to training because I liked it so much. And I would end up washing it, and then by the next competition, like 6 months later, it was already not legal anymore because it
shrank too much
right here. And that's more. I have long arms, so when I bought it, it was already like barely touching the legal mark. So if you're sizing up and you don't have long arms like me, and it's coming up to maybe past your wrists, then maybe you have more wiggle room. But otherwise, if you're like me, where it's hard to find gis that fit properly, I would preserve a competition only gi just so it will last as long as possible, especially since double weaves are expensive compared to single weaves. One other advantage of a double weave is no companies out there really make half sizes for single weaves. Single weaves are always like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? But the double weaves is where you start seeing the half sizes. So it's easier to find sizes that fit. And when I went to Japan, I went to the Mizuno store. God bless that place, by the way. I told the employee, I'm like, hey, when I was in the US,
Disneyland right there. Anthony's Disneyland.
So I told him when I usually buy Mizuno gis, I wore a 5.5, 5.5, but they have like different sizes there at that store that were like long, like longer, shorter, longer sleeves only, like. So he measured me with the tools and basically said, you're actually a 4.5. Your top is a 4.5 and your bottom is like a different size. And that gi I still have here. And I don't wear it because I wanted to stay
it's hanging up. It's in a case.
So nice. It fits so nicely.
Breakaway glass just in case only.
It fits so nicely that I don't want to wash it so much. So I'll probably wear it when on the next time I compete. Judo.
How about you don't wash it? You dry clean instead. Take the dry cleaners,
I don't know with it. Someone should do someone should try. Maybe I'll try that and see if it actually reduces strength. Whether that would work, but that's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So might as well just buy another training gi. But this we're talking about sizes. This is before we even talk about materials. Like that gi. The material is just like so nice. Like I wish, I really, really wish that it was cheaper. Let's just say that.
All right. So we've gone over what side is what color. We've gone over the double weave and the single weave and stuff like for high competition.
Oh, well, before we move on, you mentioned we already mentioned when you should wear a color, get a blue gi, but I also recommend as soon as you get a brown belt, when you get your brown belt, if you're actively competing, you should get a blue gi because some tournaments, even some small local tournaments, they'll have it. So brown and black belts have to have a blue gi on blue sides. That's not super common, but it's not uncommon either. So I would invest in that. Make sure you read the rules beforehand. We'll probably repeat it many times, but I mean, when was the last time a competitor read the rules? I don't know because I don't think I've seen anyone ever read the rules. But as a coach, it's kind of your responsibility too. So make sure you read the rules to see whether the bracket you're fighting in requires a blue gi. And that is really confusing because I've actually been to a nationals tournament to coach and the referees themselves weren't sure. They were arguing amongst themselves whether that bracket actually required a blue gi or not. So, and
someone pulled out the flyer being like, see right here on page 3, article C section, blue gi's mandatory on the blue side. Like I remember that's how it was when I went to, very first time I went to US nationals, I was reading it and this is USA Judo Nationals first reading. I was like, blue gi mandatory on the blue side. I was like, shit, I gotta bring a double weave white gi and a double weave blue gi with me. It's gonna be so heavy in my bag.
Yeah, I mean,
they get heavy in your bags, man. They're real heavy.
Sometimes I envy smaller athletes because when they travel, they have to bring 2 gis. The gi is smaller, right? But when I'm a big guy, I have to carry 2 big gis and they don't increase the carry-on size or whatever, or your luggage size based off of your height, your size. So we're going to bring me being a minus 100 kilos and a minus 66 kilo guy. We're going to bring the same size suitcase, but my gis are going to take much larger space than theirs does. So
you should put your gi inside their bag. I take your blue gi, you take my blue gi. It's even, we save space,
Yeah, or they should just sell really cheap gis. Like, we're kind of diverging. Let's talk about it later, because I do want to touch on this topic later.
Remind me when we get to the later part. Remind me the story about. I'm trying to remember this. The story about Vegas. I'm going to tell you a story about Vegas. First time I went to compete in Vegas. So we got into blue gis and stuff. We got about double weaves. Now let's talk about gi length and things, because that's the only thing that people always get confused about. And Anthony talked about a little bit about the biggest one that they always is the, I want to say they pet peeve maybe, or the one they enforce the most is the sleeve length. And what they mean by that is that, so most people, if you put your arm out, you're going to see this little crease right here. It's on your wrist area. Like if you're watching a video, you can see where I'm pointing at. You're going to have this natural crease right there. If your gi, if it's pulled out straight and that gi does not touch that crease or is near that crease, your gi is illegal. That means that it's supposed to be equal opportunity for both players. Your gi is equal, my gi is equal. We have equal opportunity to throw each other and grab each other. If your gi is shorter, if it goes up to past your wrist area down here or something, or even further with like a really gi that actually had a gi actually go. I think I had a gi one time shrink all the way down to here one time, like way down my forearm and shrank. That is illegal in competition because you're not giving an equal opportunity to grab you.
Yep.
So what you're going to see them do, I always call it it always looks like a drunk test to me. So they have you put your gi on, you straighten your gi out on you, you put your arms down to your side, out straight, in front of you, hands up, like a drunk test right now, hands up, and they're going to tug on your gi one time to see it to get it straight. If your gi does not touch that crease or is not near that crease at all, that gi is illegal, and they tell you to go change it.
Yep.
That is the simple test that they do. If they do that and you think your gi is proper, it is the right length, which is going to be a hard argument with that one, you can ask to get the ruler out, and they ask to do the measurement with the ruler, which they'll get really mad about that. And then you'll lose the match anyways, because they'll call anything against you. So that's the normal sleeve test. That's the big sleeve test right there. There's new ones now this year. They're going to start enforcing. I didn't see it super enforced at this tournament, but they're always saying the rules and the meeting and stuff. We're going to start enforcing these things. So the big one for the IGF is that now your skirt has to be longer now. And this more affects the big boys, because big boys, they'll get a size 5 gi that fits their arms great, but their skirt's really short. They'll have instead of a 5-inch skirt or a 6-inch skirt, they'll have a 2-inch skirt instead.
Yep.
So the rule now is that your skirt must cover your butt. Minimum, it must cover your butt now. And some of the competition, you see people out there with skirts that are barely covering their butt, aren't covering their butt at all. So now the visual is that if your gi's pulled down straight and you turn around and stuff, your gi must be covering your butt. It's supposed to be you cover your butt in how many centimeters or millimeters?
And 10,
exactly?
I think it was 10 cms longer than it past covering your butt. Yeah.
Yeah. But the visual test now is must be covering your butt. For some people, they think it looks weird and stuff. We're gonna end up looking like we're wearing like a taekwondo or karate gis. Like it'll look like we're like almost like full length skirts sometimes with their gis. But again, it's about equal opportunity, because if I tug on your gi and your skirt's only an inch past your belt or something, and I tug on your gi's gonna come out really fast, really hard. And this is what someone told me a long time ago when I was first trying to understand the rules. Like, well, what's so bad about the gi being pulled out? And the guy said, okay, pull someone with their gi on, they're going to come to you. Pulling someone with their gi out is going to be really hard to pull because it's like almost pulling like on a sail. Like a sail, like a sail to like a boat. Like imagine pulling a sail to a boat, how long it is. I'm like, oh, okay, makes sense now to me. So think about that. Like go to your club, like if you don't understand it, pull someone with their gi tugged in, like it's fully tucked in right there. Pull them, see how easy they come. Then have them pull out their gi and try to pull them again. You're gonna see like there's another foot right there. You have to pull the guy because their gi's gonna be pulling all the way across.
Yeah, I think a couple of more other reasons related to what you said is like, before they enacted the rule where you had to keep tucking your gi in, which is like a year or two ago, I believe they started doing that. You would see people purposely pull their gi out.
Yeah.
And actually, there was that Egyptian guy that got disqualified. I saw at least 2 people that got disqualified for pulling their gi out over and over again after the new rules enacted.
Yeah.
They probably weren't sure of the new rules, or they were just habit, or they thought they could get away with it.
Exactly. But it was that.
Another thing is my one hypothesis I have is that they want to stop these like really unorthodox looking throws from happening. Like, one example would be Salid Mulai, the ex-Iranian judoka who went to Mongolia and now is in Azerbaijan, I think.
Yeah.
There was a highlight clip of him grabbing the skirt and then doing some crazy Sode looking. It's not Sode because it's not a sleeve, but Sode Surikomigoshi looking throw from the skirt grip. Hold on a second. Oh my. Got a warning that my phone was overheating. Sorry.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I had to take it off the charger. So basically there's that, and then there's another clip of people getting away with the no touching the leg rule by grabbing the skirt and then like wrapping it around. So the rest of their arm is touching the leg for leverage, but they're actually just gripping the skirt. So I think that those unorthodox throws with that grip is what they also want to avoid, for people to skirt around the leg wrap rule and also doing these technically kind of dangerous moves. So, that's just one thing I thought that is probably why they want to they're so obsessed with keeping the gis tucked in.
I get that.
I'm really Yeah, I'm really wondering how it'd be for the big guy, like you said, the big boys with the big belly. How it's how it's going to eat up more fabric. So then, how long is it actually going to have to be, right? And what happens if you're big, but you're not like yeah, you have to get it custom made, right? And what happens if you have a big butt? Like,
you got to get bigger,
like round out and
big butt.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the next part of the thing. Is okay. So the next one they're going to visualize is the skirt now. Yeah. After that, now they're making that. We're talking about keeping the gi inside. Now the gi has to cross your belly now. Because again, if you watch some competitions when it comes to the big boys, sometimes their belly is almost coming out and they're like, I've seen some guys with a belly button showing their gi just like barely coming across a little bit.
When they're tucking it in, they're using 2 fingers like this to pitch it and pull it down.
Yeah, they got a little belly button sticking out that's barely crossing. So that's a new big thing also. Again, to probably go to your thing about keeping the skirt inside so people can't use it against them, get more cleaner throws, and probably a little bit less dangerous to get your fingers caught in it, because I've had that happen before. That's actually how I dislocated a finger one time, was that way. Is that now your gi has to cross your belly cleanly, like a clean judo gi. So the only part that should be showing is your upper chest, not just your belly button showing, like it actually has to cross all the way. So I know some people will try to get like a skinnier gi, or they try to get what they call like a European cut back in the day, or skinny gi. You can't do that. You have to, it's not equal. It has to be equal opportunity. Your gi has to be equal to my gi, it has to be fair all the way across. So that's another thing, that if they look at you and your gi isn't crossed and they're giving that hand crossing to cross that gi, and if it's not crossing, they're seeing your belly sticking out, they might tell you to go put on another gi. All right. And it doesn't matter if that's blue or white, whatever. If it's not crossing, if the skirt area is too short, your belly's sticking out too much, they're going to tell you to go change your gi. And that's why nowadays you're seeing these people wearing an IGF gi now at tournaments, because their gi wasn't legal. If you see anybody wearing an IGF patch on their back instead of their country patch, that's because their gi was not legal now.
Yeah, they've been a lot more lenient because of the supply chain issues and all that stuff. So they're like, we're not going to strictly enforce the butt of the skirt over the butt rule for next remainder of the year, I believe, because of the supply chain issues. And they're trying to give the manufacturers time to create these new gis and ship it out and for people to procure them. And that's why when I noticed in the last couple of tournaments, you actually see some people with like really long skirts and some with like really short skirts, because some people have and some people don't. And I think the advantage isn't that big for it to matter that much. I think and I think they announced that leniency after what's her name, Bouchard from France complained about it on social media about the gi check protocol and how they were waiting for hours for people to check the gi. And what was the Italian guy's name that I don't like? That kid, he's a gold medalist, but I forgot his name because I don't like him.
You don't like him so much.
But anyway, but a bunch of people were complaining about the gi check protocol, and afterwards they were like, okay, remainder of the year is going to be easier. We're going to be more lenient. Main thing is about the sleeve.
And this is talk a lot.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, I'm going to say this is. All right. And this is mostly for high level competition. Like this stuff gets enforced at local and national competitions also, more at nationals, less at locals. But at some locals, you might get an old school sensei that's very strict on it and might tell you this. So I'd rather you just be safe and ready than have to go there and have to borrow a friend's gi or have to borrow a teammate's gi or something. And that's the worst, is when like your gi, they say, is too short, too messed up, and you get your teammate that just fought and you have to put on his dirty ass gi or her dirty ass gi. That's the worst. I hate doing that. I've only had to do it a few times, but I'm usually really good at it. I'm usually really strict on my own gis personally.
I get why they enforce. So what I was going to say was, I get why they enforce the sleeves mostly. But I really think like touching the wrist and not touching it doesn't really make a huge difference. But they're so, like you said, anal about it touching the wrist that they're like, this is too short. But it's like, come on, I literally bought the ski like earlier in the year and I washed it like 5, 6, 7 times. And now it's like not legal. Like, am I supposed to? This goes back to what we said about local competitions. Like, if you had to buy a new gi every year to compete, I would just be like, I'm not competing, or I'm never ever washing my gis again. Because one or the other.
It's a conspiracy. It's Big Gi. It's Big Gi trying to make us buy gis every year. That's what it is. All right. It's
big
conspiracy
Mizuno.
theory.
It's Big Mizuno and Big Fuji.
Slip him some money. Hey, you want to change some lengths again?
Yeah, so I think they should be more lenient about the for local tournaments, a little more lenient about the sleeve. I understand you need like a draw the line at some point, but just use your common sense. Like, I mean, the refs are already making subjective ass calls anyway, so might as well make subjective calls on the sleeve length, right?
Yeah.
I think the length is not as important as how baggy the sleeve is, like how far down it hangs. Because I'm gonna use a perfect example here. A while back on Reddit, there's a BJJ black belt guy who's also a judo brown belt, uploaded a video of him doing a certain throw. I can't remember what throw, but one of the major comments, he asked for feedback. One of the big comments that a lot of people said was like, you need to grab higher up. Like, you're grabbing too low on the sleeve. And everyone's like, yeah. You need to grab by the elbow, kind of like how we teach beginners. You have to grab by the elbow. And since I trained both, I kind of figured out, I'm like, yeah, you do have to grab the elbow, but I noticed the partner was wearing a tight ass BJJ gi. It's harder to grab by the elbow. If you guys ever sparred against a person with a really tight BJJ gi, you know, like when people bend their elbows like this, like when they grapple, like put their hands up, it tightens up that fabric near the elbow area. It's really hard to get a good grip there. And even if you get it, it's like you don't get the same like full grip that you do with most judo gis. So I personally, when I go to BJJ class, I also grab further down the sleeve because of that reason. Because that's where I can get a good grip. And that makes a huge difference. And because of the way that you pull and the techniques. And do you remember that time when I was practicing this very specific version of Uchimata and I just couldn't get it? And then Philippe came by and was like, you need to grab higher up near the elbow. And I landed it right away. That was when I realized, oh, like just that like little further up on the sleeve grip made such a huge difference on the execution of the technique. So I think people need to check how baggy the gi is more so than the length. I mean, as long as the length isn't coming halfway up your forearm, I think it's fine.
Well, that brings us to our next point right there. So in judo, our gis are baggy. It's because, like I said, it's supposed to be equal opportunity. I give you equal opportunity. You give me equal opportunity by wearing a fair gi. Now, in judo, our gis are baggier. And in BJJ, their gis are tighter to their body because they're more tapered to them to give their opponent less of its opportunity. There's not the whole thing about like you get equal opportunity, I get equal opportunity. In BJJ, you can wear different cuts, different sleeve lengths, different body things. Like there's there's a gi one time. I don't know if Hayabusa still made it, but it was a really cool gi I saw at an MMA show. I went and it was this gi that they had, and it was stretchy. It was like a judo. It was a gi, but it's stretched. And I was like, this is blowing my mind here. So this goes into the next part of it. And you said you saw someone do this, and it's actually happened to me before. At a judo tournament, you are supposed to only wear a judo gi. Now, your dojo might have different rules that if you have a blue or white judo BJJ gi, you can train in it, no problem. But when you go to competition, you're supposed to only be wearing a judo gi. You are not allowed to wear a BJJ gi at judo competitions. And Anthony brought this up because at competition, I saw a guy wearing a BJJ gi, but I thought he had to change it. Anthony told me, so you saw him compete the entire time with it?
Yeah, he competed the entire time with it. And I mean, I didn't notice it at first until I saw the Carlson Gracie back patch. Then I looked closer. I'm like, that's a BJJ gi. And I mean, I don't think you can expect the refs to know about all the gis out there. So they probably thought
I think you should.
Well,
I definitely think you should.
Well, it goes back to what I said, right? They're so overly emphasizing on the length of the sleeves that they just check the length of the sleeve and they don't check the rest of it. And unless you're like me, who just goes gi shopping and trains both BJJ and judo, I can tell the difference between these gi brands because there's so many gi brands out there, right? Even outside the major Fuji, Mizuno, Kusakura, there's still like Green Hill is one, and not Yawada. There's starts in there's one brand that starts in an H that I forgot, and then There's Matsuda. I forgot his name. Travis, my friend, has that. There's Adidas, and then there's like all these other gis, right?
Yeah.
And even within Fuji gis, there's also, you got to differentiate the lines between the judo line and the BJJ gi lines that Fuji has.
Yeah.
So I understand if a ref, even if they know, unless they check for the IJF label or say only Mizuno Fuji or whatever's allowed, then you can't expect them to know the difference between the BJJ gis and judo gis. And also, one more thing: what if they bring a BJJ gi that is really baggy, like they triple sized up, and it was actually illegal? Does that mean, oh, it's a BJJ gi, is not allowed? Like,
yes. To me, it's not. To me, if it's a BJJ gi, it should not be allowed in that period. But I guess it's also because you and me are more open about that kind of stuff. Like I can visually see a gi, and I can tell by the look of the cut if it's a BJJ or judo gi. And there's the one visual test I talked about when we did our gi videos. Judo gi has two different quiltings, I guess you say. So the upper part is like the pearl quilting, the pearl sewing, I guess you call it. And the bottom part is like a quilt. It's like a quilting at the bottom of the skirt area. BJJ gis don't have that. It's the same pearl the entire way down. There's no quilt at the bottom. So even just a visual, just looking at gi's skirt, I can tell, I can look at it and be like, oh, that's a BJJ gi. Even if I look at the sleeves,
I'm actually a huge fan of the pearl weave, just so you know. It's really comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you talk about it all the time and stuff, but so I have a little bit of grudge against this because a long, long time ago in a galaxy far away, when I was a white belt, I was at one of my early tournaments. I was doing really well. I was in the finals. It was me and this other guy. And I noticed the guy the entire time had a BJJ gi. He looked like a damn NASCAR driver, had all the stickers and all the stuff all over it. And after every match, I would hear a coach, because it was just me and Matt ourselves went to this tournament by ourselves. And after every match, a coach would pretty much say oh, that guy's a BJJ gi on. Oh, he has BJJ. I'm like, whatever. I don't care. I'll throw him anyways. And when I went against him in the finals, I grabbed him. I went for my Tayatoshi or Seotoshi, one of those two throws. And I went and grabbed, and he pulled back, and I just lost my grips. They were like, poof, gone. I was like, oh, now I know why. So I trolled up and stuff, and he tried to do newaza with me, got back up. And again, I tried throwing him. And the entire match was me grabbing, trying to throw him, and him trying to do newaza with me. And I think maybe he fought a throw and got wazari on me or something. But either way, I lost that match. I didn't get choked out or armbarred or nothing, but I lost that match, I think, because of wazari. But ever since then, I totally understand why it's not fair, because he could grab my gi easily, no problem, because I'm wearing a judo gi. But I could not get a good grip on him. I could grab him good, but I couldn't, because he was fighting so much. And at that point, I didn't know enough differences to what to do with grips and stuff. Now it would be fine with me. But back then, I was just doing plain straight judo as a white belt. So I totally understand the difference and how it's not fair that I'm giving you this and you're not. So I have another second story about this, another funny story. I was to tell you about Vegas. So the first time I went to Vegas for a tournament, and this is the first time this Vegas dojo had this tournament long, long time ago. It was a terrible run tournament. There's 2 mats, 100 people showed up. It was crazy. But because in Vegas, all these BJJ guys want to come and test themselves, but they all brought BJJ gis. And this is the first time, the only time I've ever seen USJA, I think it was, that was doing this. USJA enforced the rules, and they're making announcements. If you have a BJJ gi, you'll have to change your gi. And it was what's the Adidas seller out here's name? Oh, whatever. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. He made a killing, basically.
Yes, because he had to stand there, and all these BJJ guys had to go buy judo gis, and he just ran. He's like, "I'm running out of gis, guys. This is great. I made made all this money."
I don't know if it's always true, but to give a tip to those guys out there, the blue gi I have in my closet right now, I got it at a judo tournament, and I went there in the morning to look at the gis at the stall I think it was, I want to say it's Hatashita Sports or that was there. And then I looked at it and then tried it on. I'm like, oh, let me think about it. I'll come back at the end of the day so I can think about whether I really need the ski. I was still a white belt or yellow belt at the time. So came back at the end of the day and there was only 2 gis left, 2 of that size left. And then the woman's like, I'll cut you a deal. I'll give you a $20 to $30 discount if you buy it. So if you're at a tournament, go towards the end of the day before they're closed and they might be able to give you a discount is one would say. So
yeah, they don't want
happen to me.
They don't want to take it home. You know, they don't want to take it back to the stores. Like I brought it here. Why don't I get rid of it? But yeah, so that's a big thing right there. And I know some BJJ guys get upset about that sometimes because they'll come to our dojo. I think they'll come to our dojos even. Sometimes it's more like a black or green or those are two other colors I see the most are black and green. And we tell them like, for your first day, you can wear that today, but if you become a full member, you're gonna practice regularly. You have to get a blue or white.
No, I think we don't even allow. We only allow white and blue.
No, but I'm saying like I've seen it a few times. We don't do it all the time, but we tell people we're a traditional judo club. You must wear blue or white. You can't be coming with some black BJJ gi or pink BJJ gi or green BJJ gi or red BJJ gi or yellow BJJ gi. I don't know what other colors they have out there. But just so you guys know, when you guys go to competition, if you go wearing a BJJ gi, you think you might slip through the cracks or something, you might, but you might not. And then you might have to go buy a brand new gi at the dealer there or borrow your homies. All right. So you're not allowed to wear it. Just don't chance it. That's my thing. Okay. And it's also not fair. Like, don't cheat. Don't cheat like that. Okay. We're being cool. We're letting you come to the judo tournament. Don't cheat.
Yeah. Even the tournament aside, like I've seen people, especially in beginners classes, when they don't have that grip developed, it's hard for them to grab it in practice. So it's not really fair for your training partner to have to grab that. It's hard, right? And I understand if it's your first class, you're trying it out and stuff like we talked about. But I've actually seen people like either purposely buy a BJJ gi or they take their Judogi and get it tailored to be really slim fit because it looks nicer or, you know, I think that's just like really selfish. Like, yeah, I know Shintaro did that, but he's a sensei. So he's like just wearing, like instructing most of the time. So I think he gets a pass. But if you're like an actively training, like yellow belt or something or orange belt, and you like go buy a super slim gi or get your gi tailored, I think that's kind of a dick move. So,
well, it's also that opinion. If you, well, it is a dick move and it's being an asshole. But the thing is, here it is also, you're practicing wearing that BJJ gi or that slim fit gi or Euro cut gi, they call them nowadays. You're practicing with that gi. When you go to competition and if you get called out wearing that gi and now you have to wear someone else's gi or go buy a regular fit gi, there's going to be things that you're muscle memory trained to do with that slim fit that ain't going to work no more. Like just pulling your elbow up and away isn't going to break a grip no more. Like it will in a slim fit or BJJ gi. Yeah. So if you're wearing regular gi and you pull that elbow thing up and you're like not letting go, I'm sorry, but you might get freaked out because in our competition, that person's going 110%, you're going 110%, and now you can't do what you normally do. That's when things get ugly, sloppy, and dangerous.
It's funny that you mentioned grip breaks because I've been to certain BJJ, especially on this trip, I've been to some BJJ clubs where they teach grip breaks, and I'm like, that grip break would not work if the guy was wearing not even a judo gi, just like a baggier jacket. It would not work on someone. Yeah, basically on a baggier BJJ gi with someone who has like decent grip strength, because Judogis like have really good grip strength, right? So if you put a judoka in that gi in that situation with the baggier BJJ gi, I'm like, that grip break would not work because a lot of these places aren't actually teaching proper grip breaking techniques. Like the details, like the angle that you should pull it away as. They just say, oh, you pull it away like this and it'll pop off. I'm like, yeah, because he's holding it with like two fingers, you know? So,
the tweezers, he's trying to hold it over here, like trying to hold on to the guy. And for non-visual listeners, I'm holding like the salt guy. I'm holding the key, pinky up. I'm holding like the salt dude right there. That's I'm holding the key. But yeah, it's. I'm not saying this stuff's not going to work. I don't want to get heat from BJJ fans out there. It's just you have certain things that work in a BJJ gi and things that work in a judo gi. And like I said, like if I'm holding a guy in a BJJ gi, I have to get a really good hard grip on the guy so that it doesn't pop off. And if you try to pop my hands off if you're trying to grab my gi, a judo gi using a BJJ trying to pop off stuff, it's not exactly going to work. It probably won't work. It might work. It might not work. Okay. But just to let you know, it's not 100%. There's different things that work for different gis. I can do a lot of things easier in a BJJ gi than I can in a judo gi. Like there was I sound like I'm complaining now, but again, like there's this catch wrestling BJJ guy that I follow on Instagram, and he was doing a BJJ class, and he was teaching. So it was a grip. So it's an old school grip thing from the 80s. I think it was when I used to see it the most. So in judo, where if a guy grabs my gi and I can use the outside knee attack to get his hand off and stuff, you have to hit that outside knee attack really hard in real life to get that get that grip off. Okay. You have to hit it really hard. When he did his BJJ class, he like barely tapped the person's hand and their hand flew off. He's like, see, there's a great escape right here. You just barely touch it. I'm just like, no. In a judogi, that's not going to work. Like, you literally have to like almost knee that hand off the person, get that hand off. In a BJJ pants or gi and stuff, what he was holding, like, yeah, because they're tighter to you, a little tap's going to work. But in a judogi, that little tap is nothing. That is not going to work.
Yeah, we're getting into like grip fighting discussion, which I know there's a lot of factors involved. Sometimes you don't want to break that grip. Sometimes it's not a big deal. You lose it because you just regrip right away. But let's not go into that. We're trying
to talk about gi and stuff we saw.
So before I talk about something else about the gi, I want to talk about pants. Like, we keep talking about the top, but we haven't talked about the pants. And that's the most enforced part is the top. Yeah. I mean, the pants is like, as long as it's not super short, then it's fine. But I really hate, I basically think judo pants have it down. They are like the best pants. Except for the Mizuno Hayato, which I complained about in our BJ, our short video. It's like the worst pants I've ever worn. But BJJ pants, for some reason, they always have this like really premium thick band around the waist, and then like the string is like super thick, and it always comes loose. I always have to retie my freaking pants all the time in BJJ. I almost never have to do it with my judo pants, even though it's just a string. I'm actually thinking about pulling out all the strings in my BJJ pants and replacing it with judo strings, or just wearing my judo pants. They're like a cords or like rope almost that they have to tie around. Yeah. And also, I think the premiumness of the BJJ pants just make it feel like I'm wearing a pair of jeans. I don't know. Some people might like that, but I like how thin the judo pants are and how they're thin, yet they feel comfortable and not like you're wearing paper. Like BJJ pants, some of them feel like they're cheap paper. Some of them feel like it's too thick. It's like wearing some sweatpants or joggers or something. So I think judo has the pants down. I just wish they were slimmer. That's my only complaint.
Now, when it comes to judo pants, this is very rare. Like, unless it's super rare, do you ever see someone get called on with pants? But it's basically that your pants must come down, not touch your ankle, but around the ankle area. If your pants are coming up to like, you can see your calf and stuff, like you're wearing capris or something like those pants are not legal. All right. You have to get longer pants. I've rarely ever seen that super enforced, but if it's blatant, like a person wearing shorts, almost capris, they're going to tell you to change. But the length is supposed to be down right above your
ankle.
The ankle bone. What's that little knob? Whatever that knob is called right there. You got like an inch or two area you're allowed to play with right there. That's the length that you have to be. But it has to be down that area. I'm pointing at my own leg, I guess, to see it. It has to be down in that area. I'm gonna pull my leg up here. So it has to be around. But yeah, you can't be wearing capris, guys. If you're wearing, the ladies also, you can't be wearing capris to do judo competition. Then you're gonna get called. And if you get anywhere near, you're gonna start seeing calf area. They're gonna get called on it. It has to be down by that little ankle bone, the little knob that sticks out. All right.
Yeah. One other thing I don't get, one other thing I don't get is why BJJ gis have so many loops. You know what I'm talking about? Like for the string. They have like my judo gi only has 1 or 2 loops on them, and the BJJ one sometimes have 2 right next to each other, and then 1 in the middle, and then 2 next to each other, and 2 on the side. I'm like, well, why? Why do you, the belts? I mean, the rope's not going to fall off if you tie it tight enough. So,
if anyone knows out there, let us know, please, in the comments.
More complaint about the rope is they're usually really long after you tie it, so it's just like hanging there, and then with some grappling on the floor, it'll just come loose again. So you have to tuck it into your pants, and then like I don't know, that's just disgusting to me that you're drawstrings like rubbing against your junk like inside the whole time. So
when you're doing this is a terrible question now. This is horrible. But has anyone ever tried to pull your pants string apart while doing newas or something like try to be like right down there and be like, I don't know, because in BJJ they use everything to tie your hands up and stuff together. I'm gonna undraw your pants and use that rope to hold your hand together.
Yeah, what if I do that in BJJ to choke? I don't think there's a rule against it, right?
Yeah.
It'll be like choking someone with a telephone cord. If people still know what that is. Yeah.
What's a telephone cord?
You mean the charger? My cell phone charger to cable? Is that what you mean?
yeah. Your cell phone charger cable. Yeah. What that one?
No.
Is there anything else about geese that you want to talk about, Anthony?
I just basically want to talk about how I'm frustrated about the amount of choices that we have for Judogis in a way. Because they're standardized, like we said, because all these rules are so standardized, people weigh in without their gis on in judo. But versus in jiu-jitsu, there's so many variations to thickness, styles, length, cuts, weaves, everything that people have to weigh in with their gi on because it will be unfair otherwise. So it's like, do you decide to lose more weight to wear a thicker gi, or do you want to lose less weight and wear a heavier, a thinner gi?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but for me, it's mostly about traveling. Like traveling with a BJJ gi is super easy. Like I just bring the thinnest gi I own, which is like 350 GSM, and does in my suitcase. It only takes up like a quarter of the space or less. But my judo gi takes up half to 3/4 of the half of the suitcase. It just takes way too much space. So why don't we have like a manufacturer out there that makes like like a thin judo? I just remembered something that I mentioned, but a thin judo gi for traveling basically just doesn't pack up full. And when you're training at a local club, no one's going to care that your gi is super thin, right? They will care if it's not baggy enough, like we talked about how it's annoying when it's hard to grip up. But if it's thin, nobody really cares. And I'm actually personally looking into like contacting some of the manufacturers in Pakistan and
riddle me this,
like make something.
I have one for you, okay? And we did sell it at our dojo a long time ago.
That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah,
so
they had the Adidas practice gi, or the summer gi they called it, and that thing was like paper thin judo gi. I remember some students buying that gi when we had it in stock, and I was like, this gi cannot be legal. I was scared of having to tear this gi off some people when they bought it.
You have to market it differently. That's what I think. It can't be like a karate gi, but remember when we were ordering more gis for the dojo on the Fuji site? And I said, oh, they have this like beginner gi that's like super cheap, right? Why is it so cheap? Why is it looks the same as a single weave. Like, why is it so cheap? So when I went to Seattle, I went to the dojo I went to, there was one guy wearing that gi. And that gi feels like a towel. It's like, it doesn't feel like a gi. It feels like a towel, like a white towel, a bathrobe or something. And let's just say it didn't feel nice. It felt really weird. That gi felt really weird. I wouldn't recommend anyone buying that gi. Just spend the $10 extra on the Fuji single weave. That's much better.
Well, it's up to you. You want to spend the $10 less and get the thinner gi. It's up to you.
Yeah. I think there is a market there for people to travel and train with a judo gi. Like, just get something that's super light, that's like BJJ thin, but in a judo cut. That's all you have to do. But maybe if someone tried and didn't make enough money, but I would personally I'd be willing to pay like a premium gi price for the luxury of not having to lug this, like, waste space in my luggage, basically. Like, I had to check a bag, a whole suitcase, just so I can carry my gis around for the.
Yes, you took like 6 gis with you on your trip.
No, I took 2. In the end, I only took 2 gis, and it took up the whole suitcase. So it was just one judo gi, one BJJ gi, and rash guards and shorts, spats. But travel gi. Let me know in the comments if any of you would be interested in that. So, I mean, like I said, I was in the beginning of the episode, I'm really busy right now, but that's something I care enough about where I would like custom order it just for myself, even if nobody wanted to. But as you know, we do a group order, volume discounts, right? You order 100 gis, each unit is cheaper.
I'll buy one with. Find it. Okay, you bully me into it. Fine, I'll buy one with you. But my only problem with the Adidas one that we did sell for a little while, and for some reason, to me, just looking at it visually, it looked like a white belt gi. It looked like I couldn't see a black belt wearing this gi. It looked like a white belt gi, just the way it was made, the way it was tailored. It looked like this gi only belongs on white belts.
It's because you have a white belt mindset, Juan. But
this gi only belongs on white belts. I need a black belt gi.
Before I order, like I think I told you my Fuji single weave, I'm trying to decommission it because it's starting to get all these stains that no longer come off anymore. So I'm been looking around and I have that Mizuno Hayato, which is the thinnest gi I have, but the quality is so bad and it shrunk so much that it's like I don't wear it, and the pants, I hate it. So what I ended up ordering was a Kusakura green label gi. It's like their lightest gi available, and they recommend it for teenagers, high school students, I think, or junior high school students, to wear for competitions and stuff. And it's light. Okay. So I have that coming from Japan. I'll see how thin that is, whether that fits my needs. If I still find it too thick, then I'm gonna have to go that custom route and then make my own gi.
Keep my
first official Tatami Talk gi.
Oh, can we get Tatami Talk on the side right here instead of a flag? Tatami Talk on their shoulders.
Tatami Talk gi. No, I probably label it something else, but I mean, I think there's a market for it. Globetrotters, like BJJ Globetrotters, sells this really thin gi. I want to know what material they use. And I was also considering at one point just ordering a all white, no patches BJJ gi and size up like 2 or 3 sizes, and maybe you can get away with it. But again, I think it's the bagginess of the sleeves that's the problem, not the length itself. So, but I also want a summer BJJ gi, so maybe that'll be my next keeper. I just got rid of 2 gis, and I'm buying more again. So
this guy knows.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that we think that our competition friends should know about taking a gi for competition? Blue side, white side, belts to wear, belts to get. Anything else?
No, I think for your recreational person, just buy a single weave for training and then go to a couple competitions with it. And if you're serious and you enjoy competing, get a double weave. Get a white double weave, actually. And just save that for competition.
Do your first double weave should be a white double weave, please.
Yeah, don't get a blue gi. I know it looks cool, but a lot of people, like a lot of beginners on our beginners class, got blue gis, and I have to warn them. You know it bleeds, right? But it's not just bleeding. Blue gis also shrink more because of the dyeing process. So it'll be like different. Just stick to a white gi, and then when you get to your brown belt or whatever, or if you really want to, then get a blue gi. But if you get to your brown belt level, that's when I suggest you start investing in your first blue competition gi, and make sure you read the rules. Like, let's not even talk about the gis. Just you should read the rules of what you're signing up in for, right? I mean, if the competition says like, if you get second place, you actually, like, if you fight in judo and you lose, you actually die in real life. Like, you sign that waiver without reading.
You sold your soul to the judo gods.
Yeah. Or it's like, if you lose, then you have to referee for the next tournament. Like, you don't know what you're signing up for, right? Sometimes it's like, especially recently, I've noticed there are some tournaments where novice adults are not allowed to choke. And that's a relatively recent thing that I've seen. And you really should look at the rules and see what you're signing up for, so you don't get disqualified and you're not signing up for things that you don't know that you're signing up for. Like, for a while, drop Seoi Nage or Seoi Toshi was another thing that was like some tournaments allowed it, some don't for novice. And then for BJJ, for me, what I look out for is Kani Basami, scissor takedown, like whether they allow that or not. I'm not signing up for any.
There ain't no tournament that. There ain't no tournament going to be like one day, for one day only, one time, We're on Kami Basami today.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe some people here train freestyle judo or some other judo rule set, and it's like, okay, this is like traditional Kodokan judo from the 60s, and like, oh, that sounds fun. Let me sign up for it. Kami Basami. Kami Basami. So
I have to groom the shit out of people.
Just read the rules. Don't just leave it. As a coach, you should read it anyway, and then coaches should be going to the morning coaching clinic. Not coaching clinic.
Coaching meeting.
Coaches meeting anyway. But I understand you don't want to show up early and wait like 6 hours, but otherwise, just at least read the rules. Is what I'm saying. Sometimes it can get really complicated. The rules, just like another example would be how, remember the Mikhail thing, how he actually fought in a novice bracket, but he beat a brown belt in a novice bracket. And then it was in the rules. For some reason, the US Open, the rules say that it was just black belt and brown and novice, which makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know why you would do that, but apparently brown belts are novice in that tournament. I didn't know that because that's the only tournament I've been to that. Well, I haven't been to the only tournament I've seen where brown belts are novice. I'm not talking about combining brackets. I'm talking about literally. It's not like someone didn't show up and then you're like, oh, do you want to fight up a bracket or something or fight up a weight class? No,
or something. Yeah.
It's not like that. It's literally the rules. He linked it to me, said novice and brown belt will be put together. I'm just like, okay. So you never know what you're signing up for. So don't just say, well, the last 10 tournaments are like that. Read the rules every single time regarding techniques allowed, techniques not allowed, brackets, weight classes, and gis, what the rules regarding the gis are. So.
All right. And with that, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us at Tatami Talk on Instagram. Follow us at Tatami Talk on YouTube. If you have any questions, things you want us to talk about, things you want us to go over, please send it to us at tatamitalk@gmail.com. If you want to follow me at @Juan on Instagram. You follow Anthony at Anthony Throws on Instagram. Is there anything else? Is that it?
Nope. That's it.
All right. That's it. So for all you out there, don't forget to
slap the mat.
He almost forgot this time.